All right, guys, what's going on? Welcome in. So Daniel Jeremiah, the NFL Network, just dropped his first mock draft of the offseason. And it's always interesting to see what Jeremiah has to say because he's really good friends with Joe Douglas. So it always makes you ask the question, okay, is there more than meets the eye when it comes to Jeremiah's mock drafts? And same could be said with Todd McShay of ESPN. So let's not waste any time. Let's jump right into the mock draft. With the first overall pick here, he has the Chicago Bears going Caleb Williams, quarterback from USC. Nothing too crazy. This is the consensus pick, right? You're looking at mock drafts all over the place. You're talking to your friends. Everybody seems to be pointing in this direction. Right now, there's some discussions about keeping Justin Fields and building around him. There's talks about maybe the Bears trading back from that first overall pick, but it seems like, man, it really seems like this is like the go-to pick in every mock draft you read. Now, what's interesting here is the fact that the Bears don't have an offensive coordinator as of right now. If they go out and hire Cliff Kingsbury, I think it probably like when there's smoke, there's fire. If that's the case here, I really feel like Caleb is going to be the pick. But moving on, Washington Commanders number 2, he has them going with Drake May. Again, another consensus here. Really, the top 4 are pretty much the same on everybody's mock drafts, but number 2 here, Drake May. I'm a big fan of Drake. I think, when you look at arm strength, when you look at height, when you look at just his overall athletic ability, and playmaking ability as well, off script stuff, when the play breaks down, can he, function, or does he just crumble? I think Drake does a lot of really, really good things. And when I'm looking at the Washington Commanders specifically, team aside for a second, if I'm a head coach and I'm looking at Washington, I mean, man, there's so many likable things about the organization, right? Number 1, there's already players in place. And this, goes hand in hand with Drake May. Terry McLaurin, one of the best wide receivers in football. Jahan Dodson, a former first-round pick. Curtis Samuel. Okay, yes, there's some question marks at offensive line, but you look at the defensive side of the football. Forbes, Curl, Jonathan Allen, Daron Payne. Like there's talent here with this Commanders team. Not to mention 2 second-round picks, 2 third-round picks, $70+ million in cap space. I think the Washington Commanders job is really, really good. Not to mention Peters, who is just brought over from San Francisco, and he's going to be running the show. So, man, I think Washington is a great landing spot for a head coach, for a quarterback. I love the pick here. Next up, number 3, New England Patriots. He's going Jaden Daniels. Again, here, nothing too surprising. We all know that the New England Patriots need a quarterback. They're starting over with Gerard Mayo. No more Bill Belichick. They do have some questions on offensive line. They have some question marks with wide receiver. I could see Marvin Harrison being in play, but at the end of the day, I could see Mayo wanting to start fresh with a brand new rookie quarterback on a cheap deal. Heisman winner here. Through ultra efficient, highly athletic as well. He kind of has a similar mechanical release as a Jimmy Garoppolo, just a quick punchy, get the ball out really, really fast. He has good deep ball placement. The accuracy, I feel like, is awesome with Jaden Daniels. He's decisive, quick decision maker. Knows when to pull it and run. I think Jaden Daniels is really, really exciting. I hope he doesn't go to New England because I'm gonna want to root for him at the pro level. But nonetheless, moving on, Arizona Cardinals, Marvin Harrison, wide receiver from Ohio State. Another super obvious one here, no brainer in my book. The Cardinals need help at wide receiver. Harrison would come in and immediately be the team's number 1 wide receiver. You're giving Kyler Murray a dynamic weapon. I think it makes all the sense in the world. Now, next up at spot number 5. The LA Chargers. This to me is where I feel like the draft pretty much starts. The Chargers can go in a bunch of different directions, right? They need help at a couple different areas, but at the same time, they're like win now, right? If they hire Jim Harbaugh, they have Justin Herbert. You have veterans all over the place. You have big contracts all over the place, but I get the logic here. Right, Keenan Allen last year of his contract, Mike Williams last year of his contract. Both wide receivers are getting paid a lot. Both guys are injury prone. This is kind of a short-term and long-term move here with the Chargers going wide receiver. Odunze is a guy who I really like. Right, he can hurt you down the field. He's explosive, but he's also polished too. He's not just some one-trick pony out there. He's not this raw prospect that has to be developed. He's consistent week in, week out. Big frame, 6'3". I believe he's around that 210 plus range. So, again, I think Odunze for the Chargers, it makes sense, but the Chargers can't really, like there's some talk about Brock Bowers, especially if Harbaugh ends up being named the head coach, which would be, extremely exciting for Chargers fans. But according to Jeremiah in his first mock, Odunze to the Chargers. Next up, spot number 6, New York Giants, Malik Neighbors. This pick to me just makes total sense. Total sense here. The Giants desperately need help at wide receiver. I feel like they just continue to... overlook is not the right word. But man, it's just like they don't invest the assets there. Right now, granted, there's going to be a bunch of really, really good free agent wide receivers available. Mike Evans, Tyler Boyd, T. Higgins, Michael Pittman. The list goes on, right? The Giants could definitely go in that direction, but with Shepard being a free agent, and I like Slayton, but he doesn't jump off the page at you. I think Neighbors gives the Giants, boom, that number 1 wide receiver right off the bat. It helps Daniel Jones coming back from, his injury. I think it'll help also clear up some of the middle of the field for Darren Waller to work. And then, of course, you got Saquon Barkley in the backfield. So Malik Neighbors to the Giants at spot number 6. I love that. Spot number 7, Joe Alt to the Tennessee Titans. A+ pick here. I think the Titans are either going to go in one of two directions, Olu Fashanu or Joe Alt. Right now, we don't know who the Titans head coach is going to be. Today's Friday, January 19th. I think Alt is... if I was Carthen here, I think I would opt for Joe Alt over Fashanu. Even though I love Fashanu's pass blocking ability and I love his ceiling, I mean, he has the potential to be like a lockdown tackle for 10 years, Fashanu. But with Alt, I feel like he is the prospect with the higher floor. I think you also get, of course, great leadership, great off the field. You get the NFL bloodlines, but I think in run blocking specifically, Alt next to Skoronski could make a lot of sense for this Titans team. Will Levis, young quarterback, in my opinion, he showed a lot. Arm strength, height, mobility, playmaking ability. I really like Will Levis, but you have to give him a chance. The offensive line for the Titans last year was a mess. Go add a building block here. Go add somebody that you feel confident in, somebody who's going to approach the game as a professional, somebody who's going to upgrade in both pass pro and run blocking. I think this is a slam dunk for Tennessee. I really don't feel like the Titans could go wrong, though, in either offensive line choice. Next up, the Atlanta Falcons. He has them going with Dallas Turner, edge rusher from Alabama. I think right now I would probably go in the same direction. If you look at the Falcons, they need help off the edge, obviously. We don't know who the head coach is going to be, but the good news, whoever steps in, maybe it's Bill Belichick, but whoever steps in is going to have 3 top 10 picks at skill positions, right? Wide receiver Drake London, Bijan Robinson at running back, Kyle Pitts at tight end. So you don't really have that pressing need of, we have to get that young explosive playmaker offensively. We already have 3, right? Can the next head coach step in and maybe maximize those 3 or 2 out of the 3? It remains to be seen, but at least you have the options there. On the defensive side of the football, you can always add more edge rushers. Dallas Turner is, I would probably say, the consensus best edge rusher in the class. He would come in and fit that scheme. Now, at spot number 90 is the Chicago Bears, going with Jared Verse from Florida State. One of my favorite players, right? Just watching him all year with the Seminoles was just an absolute treat. I mean, he was at times unblockable. Game wrecker status, right? Like, Verse is a former transfer. He was an absolute wrecking ball at times. And again, you're looking at the Chicago Bears, you're landing in the scenario, your franchise quarterback at spot number 1. Chances are you're trading Justin Fields, so you're going to be recouping potentially a second-round pick, a pick that they lost in at the trade deadline with the Washington Commanders. They went out and they acquired Montez Sweat. Montez Sweat had the most sacks for the Washington Commanders and for the Chicago Bears. First time in NFL history that has ever happened. Montez Sweat is a true pass rusher here. I love that move at the time. I'm loving it now. I think Bears fans are probably loving Montez Sweat. But with this, you're now getting, again, your quarterback. You already have one great edge rusher. Now you're pairing him up with a cheap rookie here, Jared Verse, with a high upside, who, again, at times is just tenacious as hell. So I think Dallas Turner does make sense, but Verse, I think, is awesome. And then finally, last but not least here, spot number 10 with the New York Jets, Taliese Fuaga, right tackle from Oregon State. This is, I would say right now, the player that I see mocked to the Jets the most. I really like JC Latham, but in the case of both Fuaga and Latham, you can make an argument that the Jets could trade down. The only issue with that, who's going to come up, right? Is somebody really going to trade up into the top 10 for Michael Penix, for a Bo Nix? I don't know. I think at this point, probably not. So that's the only thing. That's the key here. If the Jets want to trade down, who's going to be the team coming up? But in the case of Fuaga, consistently solid at Oregon State, really throughout the course of his career, especially in the last 2 seasons there. Tremendous size. Didn't allow a sack in 2023 or 2022. Right, 2023, 11 games, 639 snaps, no quarterback hits. He's a great run blocker. He can move in space. I think, obviously, Fuaga would come in and be the day one starting right tackle. But, objectively speaking, if you're taking a tackle in the top 10, of course, you got to think he's going to start. It's rare to see, a team draft a high first-round pick and then he's just, backup. So Fuaga, I think right off the bat would come in, be that day one starter, be that day one upgrade over everybody we currently have. And then it also, I guess it's kind of weird because we're talking about a draft, we're doing a mock draft, but we don't know the free agent moves that have been made. But assuming Fuaga is the pick here, right tackle solidified. Right, you can go out and target a Tyron Smith from Dallas, a Jonah Williams from Cincinnati. There's some Jets fans that have been talking a little bit about Trent Brown from New England, even though I do feel like that's a bit of a wild card. It's kind of controversial, to say the least, but who knows? Maybe there's a potential trade target out there. I think at the end of the day, though, the Jets have got to maximize their assets this season in offensive line. We have to spend the money. We have to go out and draft players and develop them. That's the bottom line. We have to protect Aaron Rodgers. We have to open up running lanes for Breece Hall in the trenches. It's just, if it doesn't happen, I think the Jets are going to be screwed. Right now, unfortunately, we do have Keith Carter as the offensive line coach, which doesn't help. But I think with this addition here in this scenario, Fuaga to the Jets at spot number 10, we are much, much better on the offensive line after the selection than before. So I would love this if it played out like this. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Thanks so much for watching. And as always, go Jets.